Hello everybody, welcome back to the table. Today we are looking at a new knife from the Boker Plus brand. So this is the Boker Plus Slike. I am excited about this knife and its design because it seems like we have reached the real logical conclusion to a manual out the front design that manufacturers have been hinting at for the past few years, but no one has yet to actually deliver on. You know, when I first saw the Slike available for sale, I pretty much immediately hit the buy it now button. The design here, it brings out a really few cool aspects of knife design, and it gives us this OTF with that classic stiletto shape. So let's talk about the size of the Boker Slike first. We have an open length here of 7 inches long overall. And our dagger-shaped blade, it comes in at a hair under 3 inches in length. And amazingly, the weight of this knife is super, super light. It only weighs 1.36 ounces. So all of these size specs are super impressive. And what is nice about that is that we finally get a nicely sized OTF knife that is a manually operated action, which will therefore make it legal in many more locations than it would be if the same knife here were your regular automatic spring-powered out-the-front knife. And manufacturers have really been dancing around this design for quite a while now, with one of the most recent attempts at this style of knife being, right here, we have the Kershaw Kapsule. And as we can see, the capsule here, it is functionally the same action. But for whatever reason, it was decided that the capsule here would be made in the 2-inch blade format. So why exactly they settled for this size for a manual knife, I can't really answer. But in originally handling the capsule when I first bought this one, I could only think, what if they had upsized this knife? What kind of potential would that have? You know, that's really what I've been waiting for here. But in a similar vein, we also have, right here on the table, the Civivi Mandate. And again, this is a manual action OTF, and it's larger in size. But as you can see by the shape of the knife and the shape of the blade, it skews more towards the role of the utility knife. You know, it has these replaceable blades. It kind of goes more for that format. And the materials and the quality are there. It's a great quality knife. But here with the Boker Slike, we are getting this more classic dagger shape that is arguably more attractive and more knife-like than the Mandate here. But also out on the table, I also have another kind of a look-alike knife that I have for comparison, and this one actually comes from Boker as well. So this right here is the Boker-Matic OTF knife, and this knife, again, has a very similar action in that you have to manually push the blade out of the handle. You know, it is an old school Boker design that has a really cool feature though, because when you want to close the Boker-Matic, you just have to slide the opening mechanism here to the side, and the blade, it retracts itself right under the spring tension. So in essence, the Boker-Matic is kind of a reverse automatic knife. But that being said, the same style, the same design, it's inspiration for the Slike, I think. But let's take a closer look at the Boker Slike itself. So checking out the blade, we have this 3-inch blade, and it's made out of D2 steel. You know, it is a double-edged dagger, and the fuller right here runs down the entire middle of the blade. Looks very nice. The blade has a satin finish, very clean lines all around. It looks very nice. It's very attractive. And now the blade itself is fairly light on the markings, which is a nice thing. Right here on the show side of the blade, we do have the Boker Plus logo. That's really it. And if we look on the reverse side of the blade here, you will notice we have the D2 steel marking. And underneath that, I am assuming this number here is a serial number that was put on the knife during its production run. You know, and being an out-the-front knife, there's naturally going to be some blade play in this design. So I don't really think it's something that we should ding the knife for, because even expensive out-the-front autos, you know, will still exhibit play sometimes. And this is a budget manual operated knife. So I have no problem with that at all. You know, the blade, however, it is nice and sharp out of the box. You know, both sides of this dagger blade have a good edge. And so you can use either side for your cutting tasks, maybe even for a stabbing task, I don't know. But either way, the knife did impress out of the box, fairly sharp. And the handles of the Slike are this black G10, and there's steel. So the G10 side has some grip to it, but really what makes this handle so special is just how little of it there actually is. The profile of this knife is super thin, and the area, of course, where this button lock slides up and down is completely open and flow through in design. So there's really no surprise that the knife does weigh in at less than 2 ounces in overall weight. And when we can see that when the blade itself is retracted back into the handle, we actually get a full view of the fuller, right in the handle, and we can still see the blade markings. So kind of smart to put them there anyway. So we can still see the Boker logo. We can still see the D2 steel markings. It's all very prominent even when the knife is closed. And now the blade on the Slike does have a half stop, so you can see the cutout for that right there. And that could be useful if you only wanted to use the very tip of the blade to make small cuts when necessary. Makes it more kind of like a utility knife in that way. And the button opener functions in a way that you kind of need to press down on the mechanism here and then slide the blade right out of the handle. So you can kind of tell how that works. And in a way, again, that's very similar in hand feel to the Civivi Mandate. And so this button opener, it gives you a slow, smooth, controlled opening for this knife, which again is kind of the opposite of what your automatic OTF would give you. But again, that's kind of what they're going for with this knife. And a feature that I like on the Slike very much is that despite its small size, its small weight, we are still fortunate enough to get a pocket clip. Very nice. So we do have this wide, deep carry clip. It is really only able to be positioned, as far as I can tell, in one orientation, because of course, if you reverse the clip to lefty, it would impede the movement of the button slide that opens the knife. The shape of the clip is somewhat wide and kind of non-conventional, but really the design of the knife kind of requires it to be due to just that opening in the handle. And also hiding back here on the knife is a lanyard hole. And so, of course, no downsides to having that here as an option as well. And of course, while we have this knife in hand, we can obviously see what this knife isn't really meant to be. So while the blade is a dagger shape and it's even double-edged, the Slike, I don't think it's really meant to be a knife that you would rely on necessarily for self-defense or want to use in a so-called tactical situation. Because as you can see from this video, opening the knife is easy, but it's not exactly fast. It takes a smooth, deliberate effort to actuate and slide the button down the handle. It is elegant, but if speed and quick opening are something that you will rely on your folding knife, the Slike probably isn't going to be your knife of choice. Additionally, while the Slike is much larger than our Kershaw Kapsule here, it's still not really a large knife overall, because again, 3-inch blade, 7 inches of overall length. What it is though, it's a visually striking take on the popular OTF style of knife that is fortunately now legal for many who cannot own an automatic knife. And yes, I will mention, I realize that the double-edgedness of this knife may also make it illegal for many of us out there. But I think Boker made a compromise, and it's one that we have to live with for better or for worse. So before we're done, let's take a quick look at the packaging that this knife came in. And it came in, of course, your standard Boker Plus box, which actually looks like they put a new design on it since the last one I bought. So it looks very nice. But what really impressed me here, what's really nice, is that the Slike came in this really nice little zippered pouch. I've never seen that from Boker before personally. And the knife itself in the pouch, it was wrapped in some wax paper. And that does add kind of a touch of class because a lot of traditional knives come in that wax paper. So you get that really nice hand feel when you're opening it for the first time. So very impressed compared to the older Boker Plus packaging. Not that there was anything wrong with it, but I always love to see improvement over time. But as always, I'm very glad to share one of my new knives in my collection with all of you out there. If you have any questions about the Boker Plus Slike or anything else you saw here on the table today, feel free, of course, leave a comment below. I would love to see what you think about it. Hope you all have a nice day, everybody, and bye-bye.